Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, we're going to talk directly to the hunter who's putting in the work but still not killing elk. Whether you're brand new to elk hunting or you've been at this for years, the reality is pretty much the same. You might be hiking miles, you might be getting up early, you might be staying late, you might be doing what most people would consider enough, but for some reason, it's still not coming together the way it should. And here's the truth: you're probably not failing because you're not working hard enough. A lot of hunters, new or experienced, don't struggle because of effort. They struggle because they're repeating the wrong decisions over and over again, often without even realizing it. These aren't obvious mistakes. They're pretty subtle. They feel right in the moment, but they quietly kill opportunities before they ever have a chance to develop. If you're not familiar with who I am, I've been hunting and guiding Western big game for over 34 years, and I've been a professional strength conditioning and nutrition coach for more than 30 years, and I'm here to help you become a more successful and consistent elk hunter and outdoorsman. In this episode, I'm going to break down 3 things you should not do if you want to kill elk on public land. These are patterns I've seen for decades, a lot of mistakes that cost both new hunters and seasoned veterans alike their entire seasons. And the upside is this: once you recognize them, you can fix them, and fast. This is a hard reset on how you approach elk hunting. Mistake number 1: hunting where elk should be instead of where they actually are. This is one of the biggest traps elk hunters fall into, and it doesn't matter if you're new or experienced, you've probably done this. You look at a map, you find a basin, a ridge, or a drainage, and you think, that looks perfect. That's where elk should be. Maybe you've even hunted it before. Maybe you've seen elk there in the past. Maybe you've heard other hunters talk about it, so you commit. But here's the problem: elk don't live based on what should be good. They live based on what's happening right now. Pressure, it changes things. Weather, it changes things. Feed, it changes things. And elk respond to all of those constantly. What used to be a great area can turn into a dead zone overnight. And that's where a lot of elk hunters lose entire days or seasons. They stay in areas that look right, feel right, and make sense on paper, but have no elk in them. And that's the difference between assumption and reality. Elky country doesn't kill elk. Elk presence kills elk, right? Elk being there. I've seen guys hunt beautiful country all week with nothing to show for it, while elk are living a mile away in dark timber or mid-slope benches or just overlooked nasty pockets that don't look impressive, but they offer them security, better wind, and less pressure. Elk don't prioritize beauty, they prioritize survival. So the shift you have to make is this: you stop hunting based on what you think, and you start hunting based on what you can confirm. Before you commit to an area, you need to verify elk are actually using it. Fresh tracks, fresh poop, fresh sightings, recent vocalization, something that tells you elk are there right now, not last week, not last year. And once you're into elk, then you adjust daily. If sign dries up, or if encounters stop, if a movement changes, you don't sit there hoping it turns around. You move, you adapt, and you stay in sync with what elk are actually doing in real time. Because the truth here is simple. Most hunters ignore this, but elk are where they are, not where you think they should be. Mistake number 2 is moving like a hunter instead of positioning like a predator. And this is where a lot of elk encounters fall apart right in the middle of the hunt. A lot of hunters move like hunters. They hear a bugle, they see fresh tracks, or they catch a glimpse of elk, and their first instinct is to go straight at them, to close the distance, make something happen. And it feels right in the moment. Maybe sometimes it works out, but a lot of times that's exactly how you lose elk. When you're constantly moving towards elk, reacting to what just happened, you're always behind the situation. You're chasing. And when you chase elk, especially pressured mature bulls, they win because they're built for that. And that's one of the things I want to change through Backbone Unlimited is that guys stop reacting to elk and they start making more predictions about where the elk are going to be and what they're going to do. Because elk expect pressure from behind. They're already moving into the wind in their favor. They're already thinking about escape routes. And the second your move, your noise, or your wind doesn't line up, the opportunity is going to be gone. This is where you have to shift from thinking like a hunter to thinking like a predator. Instead of reacting, you start controlling your position. And that's where a system comes in. We locate, we evaluate, we position ourselves, and we execute. You locate elk, then you evaluate what they're doing, direction of travel, wind, terrain, timing, and then you position yourself ahead of that movement, not behind it, because the goal isn't to catch up to elk. The goal is to be waiting there where they're going. And that might mean side hilling to cut them off. It might mean dropping elevation to get below them with the wind in your favor. It might mean circling wide instead of pushing straight in. And sometimes it means not moving at all. And that's where a lot of elk hunters mess this up. They feel like they always have to be doing something, but the right move is often to set up, stay patient, and let the encounter develop. Let elk make the mistake. When you're positioned correctly with the wind right, the terrain working for you, and the timing all lined up, you don't need to force anything. The situation is going to come to you more readily. But when you're constantly reacting, constantly moving, constantly chasing, you're giving up control every single time. And that's why this matters. If you're always moving towards elk, you're usually already too late. Hey, if you hunt public land elk and you're tired of grinding through random seasons, I built the elk hunting series of ebooks for you. Most hunters don't struggle because they lack effort. They struggle because they lack a system. And that's exactly why I built the elk hunting ebook series as a complete progressive framework for Western elk hunters who are done guessing and ready to hunt with intention. Volume 1 is going to be Foundations and Reality. I reset your mindset and expose the assumptions that quietly wreck seasons. In Volume 2, Finding Elk and Understanding Pressure, you'll learn how elk actually move under pressure so you can anticipate instead of react. In Volume 3, Terrain, Wind, and Position, I break down how to use landscape and thermals to consistently create opportunities. In Volume 4, Calling, Silence, and Pressure, sound becomes a decision tool, not an impulse. In Volume 5, Bow Hunting Execution, we're talking about close range strategy so you can finish your encounters. And in Volume 6, Late Season and Post Rut, we're talking about how elk shift after the rut and how to adapt when others quit. This is a system built for consistency. This isn't theory, it's a structured system to help you find elk, read country, and make confident decisions every season. Buy each volume individually or bundle them all to save 50% off at backboneunlimited.com. Mistake number 3 is ignoring or misreading the wind. This is the biggest hunt killer in elk hunting, right? I see this all the time. Not calling, not shooting, not even my favorite, physical conditioning. It's wind. And the problem isn't that hunters don't think about wind. It's that a lot of elk hunters understand it at a basic level, but not at a level that actually holds up in real elk country. They've heard the basic rules, right? Thermals rise in the morning. They fall in the evening. Play the wind and you'll be fine. But that's not how it works in the mountains. Thermals are not clean, predictable. There are transitional switches, right? They stall, they mix, and in timber, they get even worse. Wind hits trees, terrain, and temperature changes, and it starts to swirl, drop, or shift in ways that are almost impossible to detect unless you're paying very close attention to it. And elk live in that world every day. They trust their nose more than anything else, especially mature bulls. They don't need to see you. They don't need to hear you. If they smell you, even for a moment, the encounter is over before it ever begins. And that's why one bad wind decision doesn't just mess up that moment, it educates elk. It pushes them. It changes how they use that specific micro area moving forward. And a lot of elk hunters don't even realize it happened. They think the elk just disappeared. No, they probably winded you. So the shift you have to make make is this: you stop treating wind like a factor and you start treating it like the foundation of every decision, because in reality, it is. You only hunt setups where the wind gives you an advantage, not where it's probably okay, not where it should be fine, or where you just happen to get lucky every now and then, where it's right and you know it's right. And when it's not right, you back out and you play that different. That's one of the hardest things for elk hunters to do, especially when they're close to elk. But forcing a bad wind decision almost always ends up worse than walking away and resetting. You also start using terrain to your advantage. You're going to start paying attention to ridges, consistent slopes, edges of timber, features that help stabilize airflow and make that wind more predictable. Because the truth is simple and it doesn't change no matter how experienced you are. If the wind isn't right, you're not hunting, you're guessing and probably educating elk. If you take anything away from this, it should be this: effort is not the problem for most elk hunters. Most guys are working hard enough, unless they're road hunters. They're putting in the miles, the time, and the energy. But effort without the right decision doesn't lead to results, it just leads to frustration. And what we just covered, these aren't random mistakes, they're patterns. Hunting where elk should be instead of where they are, moving reactively instead of positioning with intent, and misreading the wind or forcing situations when it isn't right. Those three things compound, they stack on top of each other, and when they do, they quietly eliminate opportunities for you before they ever have a chance to develop. And the reality is, most elk hunters are a lot closer than they think. They're in the right areas a lot of times. They're around elk more than they realize. But those repeated errors right there, those three, keep them from ever closing the gap. But the upside is this: you don't need to work harder to fix it. You just need to make better decisions and understand those three mistakes, because this isn't about one mistake. It's about the system you're operating under. You fix the system and everything else is going to start to change. Now, if you want to go deeper into elk movement, pressure patterns, terrain positioning, and structured decision making, that's exactly why I built the elk hunting series of ebooks. It's a progressive system designed to help you understand how elk actually use country and how to position yourself accordingly. I have a link to those ebooks in the description. If you want hands-on application and real-time breakdowns, we have an in-person Elk Camp 2026 that is built around this same philosophy: structure, preparation, and execution in real terrain. 90% of Elk Camp is going to be running you through scenarios. You can check that out at backboneunlimited.com. And if you want ongoing access to the Team Backbone community, classroom, my full digital vault of elk resources, private discussions, and direct communication to me for planning, you can join Team Backbone at backboneunlimited.com underneath our membership tab. Everything we talk about here is connected. Preparation is not a single video, it's a system. Thanks for being here. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.